So let me now bring in Shiv Aroor because he's tracking the latest on Israel-Hamas war. What is with regard to the ground situation presently, Shiv? How deep into the Gaza Strip have the Israeli troops reached? What is the situation looking like? Because it's also devastating to see a lot of civilians who are suffering. IDF says that these are Hamas-terror hideouts in civilian areas too.
Well, we're right in the middle of, what looks like the beginning of another round of airstrikes. There have been 300 airstrikes since last night, and we're told that more airstrikes are going to happen. We're being buzzed overhead by aircraft. Aircraft are flying overhead to and from the Gaza Strip. So obviously those airstrikes are taking place in the distance, which is Gaza City. This is the northern end of Gaza, but in the distance, the first big, urban conglomeration city is, of course, Gaza City, and that's where much of the bombing is taking place right now. Remember, this ground operation is happening inch by inch, meter by meter. It's not happening at a kind of brutal, fast-paced, velocity of the kind that past invasions have taken place, because the appetite for the casualties is extremely low at this point of time, plus the hostage crisis hasn't been resolved just yet. Also, remember that the ground operation itself is hinged on how things really play out as far as the hostage crisis is concerned. So viable anti-tank and anti-armored vehicle positions continue to remain in that particular area, and that's one of the reasons why the momentum of the ground operation remains far lower than it usually is. 300 airstrikes continuing to provide air cover and air support to troops on the ground. There have been injuries to Israeli defense soldiers, but I can tell you that this is going to be a much slower, much more long drawn out ground operation compared to previous campaigns, as a result of the fact that the exit strategy, the end game, hasn't yet been clearly defined. There are so many variables 25 days into this entire conflict, into this entire crisis. There is no indication, despite daily updates on hierarchy members being killed, that the full strength of the Hamas has been obliterated. 25 days is a long time. The Gaza Strip isn't small, 41 kilometers long, 6 to 12 kilometers wide. There's a great deal of hiding places. There are tunnel networks. There are escape routes for the Hamas, but the leadership, remember, still sits abroad. But the fact that they're continuing to attack the IDF within Gaza and to attack Israel from outside, continues to be a major concern. When the ground operation will start having a visible effect on the Hamas's offensive capability remains to be seen. This is day 4, really, of the ground operation.
Interesting. Shiv, stay on with me because I want to now play for the viewer one of the ground reports that you had sent, when clearly the rocket attacks are heard and seen behind you, and it's reflective of the kind of tensions that are prevailing there on the border. Here's the report that Shiv had sent us earlier.
It's day 4 of the scaled-up Israeli Defense Forces ground operation in Gaza. We're here on the frontier with the Gaza fence, and the destruction in northern Gaza is fully visible. Since we arrived here a few minutes ago, there have already been at least 2 airstrikes. You can see the big plumes of smoke behind me from those particular airstrikes. The targets there are being struck even as we speak. If you look into the distance, you can see the effects of continued airstrikes. There are still aircraft buzzing above us, which suggests that the intensity of the first 3 days has not de-escalated just yet. But at the same time, what we've heard from the Israeli Defense Forces, we've been speaking to them today and early this morning as well, is that the ground operation still hasn't achieved the kind of intensity perhaps that most people were expecting. And there are 2 reasons for it. One, the Israeli Defense Forces is keenly aware that there is a live hostage situation that is playing out, especially possibly in northern Gaza, and therefore they have to take all precautions. It can't be a blitzkrieg operation of the kind that happened in 2009 and 2014. At the same time, the IDF is also keenly aware that there is no appetite for more casualties. Many of the people who died on October the 7th were soldiers and members of the military fraternity, and therefore the IDF wants to make sure that this is a minimum casualty operation as far as this ground operation is concerned. The other important aspect is that this very slow inch by inch, meter by meter kind of ground operation that is taking place with the aid of airstrikes shows a kind of collaboration between the special forces on the ground of Israel and the Air Force, which is continuing to pound this area. One had imagined that maybe with the ground operations scaling up just a little bit, maybe the airstrikes would go down, but we've seen incessant airstrikes taking place. 3 since we arrived, 1 while I've been bringing you this broadcast. It's in the distance, probably somewhere near Gaza City, but it's continuing. It's become pretty clear that this ground operation in Gaza is going to be a long and hard one, like the defense minister of Israel had said a couple of days ago. But that is not necessarily good news. The reason, however, why it's taking place in this manner is because the Israeli defense forces probably want to try and wear out the Hamas, wear them down, wear down their, their ability to preempt and intercept Israeli forces, and then be able to sort of drive them out so they can be killed in large numbers, and possibly, if any, any of the leaders are remaining, then to actually kind of, force them into some kind of a hostage exchange deal or a hostage release deal. These are very, very difficult situations because it's a shape-shifting circumstance inside Gaza behind me, and therefore nothing is predictable at this point of time. What there appears to be a great deal of unanimity about is that with each passing day, each passing hour, even with Hamas leaders, like a senior combatant and a senior leader being taken out in an airstrike late last night, someone who was in charge of the aviation wing and someone who was in charge of the drone operations, it has become clear that the Hamas will be ever better prepared, because even with the internet lockdown, with the internet and communications no longer operating inside the Gaza Strip, the Hamas is still capable of being in touch with its mentors in Iran, and therefore that means being able to recuperate, rearm, etc. How long this is going to go on for, one doesn't know. It's day 4 here, and the intensity continues to remain the same. This is Shiv Aroor in Sderot, southern Israel, on the Gaza border for India Today.